Hello everybody, this is Alan from Skin Chakra, and today I'm going to talk to you about Formulators' best companion and your most important asset, more important than anything else in your laboratory, more important than all of the fanciful ingredients and instruments, and that's your lab notebook. It is as important as your life, and your whole professional life depends on the information that you put into your lab notebook or your lab diary. So in your lab diary, you are going to keep a record of the test on coming material. That's the raw material that you purchase and you receive. Your product development and the formulations that you are making, the physico-chemical test on the finished formulations, stability testings, and in-house challenge and microbial testing, as well as what I have not mentioned here, if you are doing any research and panel research, you can add your information there as well. You can put them in several notebooks, you can put them all in one notebook. This is it depends on your workflow and your preferences, but these are the most important information that you need and you are going back to as a formulator. Your lab diary could be digital or physical. Each one of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. For digital lab software, you can either use commercial software, there are several on the market, or you can make your own Excel spreadsheets. And the advantage is that your data, if you have you make your notices, you upload your notes into the cloud, and your data, you have access to your data from everywhere. If you are working during the holidays from your home or your laptop and you're not in the lab, you have access to your data, and you can easily make backup from your information and your lab diary if you are working digital. So if anything happens, may God forbid that your laptop is stolen or is burned or is defect or something happens, you have a safe, at least one safe backup from your information somewhere, so you don't run into panic and you have access to your information. If you are like me, I am very old-fashioned and I still prefer pen and paper. I have to put something on the paper with pen, then I have it in my mind. So for me, it's more appealing and more practical to use pen and paper. The disadvantage here is that you don't have access to your data from everywhere. And if heaven forbid something happens, fire or a flood or something like that, or I don't think that a thief comes to your laboratory and takes the notebooks with himself, but something, such a natural disaster, heaven forbid, then the notebooks are gone and the information is gone. There are, however, modern notebooks have a kind of a hybrid function that you can write your information in an old-fashioned way, and then you can scan the notebook. They are connected to a certain software. They come with an old software, and then you can scan each page, and it is uploaded automatically into the cloud. So it is a kind of marriage between the digital and the old-fashioned. So you can go that way if you prefer. Which one of these ways you try and you build your information upon and you build your library upon, it totally depends on you and your preferences. I have 2 bookshelves filled with my physical notebooks during the years, and some of the information is collected as well digitally so that I have access to them everywhere. But you can try both ways and see which one is more appealing for you. What you need to do is to really take care of that and write down every single step that you are doing. So find something that you really do every day and do by every experiment. Don't go for something fanciful that is so difficult or so intimidating that you just do it any now and then. This is something that is more important is that you do it and not how you do it. So when you are going, since I am an old-fashioned formulator with pen and paper, I'm going to share with you my experience and what we do in our laboratory with pen and paper. If you are interested, you can continue. If not, you can just take some ideas from for your digital version. The information you are collecting is the same no matter what you do, if it's digital or old-fashioned, but I'm going to give you some tips if you are working on paper really. So when you are choosing your laboratory notebook, of course the price is important. It is not one diary for a whole year or one fanciful calendar for a whole year. Think about how many pieces you are probably going to fill per year and calculate the budget. Then the type of paper is very important. You need something robust because it is inevitable that you drop some water or the paper becomes filthy with the ingredients you are working. It is inevitable no matter what you do. So the paper must be something robust and not that fanciful that it's completely gone or damaged when you touch it with your wet finger or with your wet gloves. The number of pages is important. It must be that big and huge that you cannot easily work with it, but you need a certain number of pages so that you can put your information in it. The paper format again is important, or is a kind of taste matter. I prefer these Caro formats, and I try to purchase my notebooks with this checkboard format. Then the binding, which one you like, which one you prefer. Usually these spiral bindings are robuster and are easier to work than other kind of bindings. And the size of the notebook, again, you don't want a mini notebook because the number of information you are putting on every page is much more than what matches in a small notebook. Usually an A4 format is very practical, but again you have to find something that works for you. When you are writing old-fashioned like me, the pen you use is very important. So you can use different colors to mark different information, but you need to use waterproof waterproof pens that do not gas, so they don't show on the other side of the page. This is again the paper quality as well. And use pens that do not smear or easily fade away during years. You are going to keep record of your experiments for years and years and even decades. So take care of that. So what you need to put into your diary, this is again, I'm sharing what we do so you can adapt it to your own preferences and your own workflow, but the kind of information is the same no matter if you are working digital or old-fashioned and on paper. It is easier to have a kind of index or kind of record so that you can go back to your formulations even after years. How you find it? You have to find a system that works for you. I'm sharing with you what we do, but it is really more practical. In 5 years, you think I have worked with lecithin 5 years ago. What did we do? What experiments did we run? What were the results? So you want to go back to that notebook, to that data, to that file if it's digital, and find the experiment result. So you need to have a kind of index to easily find the information you are looking for. Then the content. What you need for each page, or this is what we do, and it works. This is the system I'm using for at least the last 10 years, and it works perfectly for us. Of course, the date. Then you can assign a serial number to each experiment or to each formulation you are making. A batch number again to the formulation or the experiment that you are doing. You can write your product name. You shall mention the batch size, what you have done. So if you change your batch size and the results are different, you can go back and cross-reference and see what if only the batch size has an instrument has caused those differences or something else. If more than one people is working in your laboratory, then it would be nice to have the name of the creator or the one person who has worked on this assignment and on this project. The lab temperature and the humidity are very important, specifically when you are working on powder formulations and our compact formulations. So it is in winter we had some material that in winter we really had to first rinse or stir with hot water before we could make the emulsion. So it makes a difference if you are making the formulation in winter or in summer. So it's good to have a kind of record, what was the temperature, the room temperature as you were working on that certain experiment, the humidity, of course. You can add your inspiration or the reason why you are working on this certain experiment. It happens to me often that I go back to a formulation before I started writing the inspiration or the reason. I went to a formulation and I didn't know why on earth I did that, I did what I did. So it is always better to have a kind of what has inspired you or what was the reason for doing what you are doing. Trust me, in 1 week you cannot remember why you did it. And a cross-referencing. So if you are improving a certain product, if you are repeating a certain experiment, it is always good to have a cross-reference to the original experiment or the product that you have used or made or the experiment that you have worked on, so you know you can go back to the original experiment and compare your results and see how you can improve or how you have improved it. If you are slightly artistic, I am not at all, you can make sketches and photos of your setups that will help very much. If you are not artistic, you can make photos anyway. If you are artistic, you can make your own sketches. That will really help to see how you have set up your water bath or your homogenizer, or during extraction, how did you set up your equipment. It will really help when you go back to your notices. Of course, if you are working on a formulation, you need a formulation. So this is a very complicated and elegant way. I shall confess that we don't do this for all of our formulations. If you are a manufacturer, your formulation sheets shall contain all of these information. That is what you have, the legal part of the game. But if you are in your own laboratory notebook and your experiments, you perhaps don't need all of the information. But again, if it makes you feel better, and it helps you find the records better. You can have all of them. We honestly don't have all of them in all of our laboratory notebooks. So that's the INCI name, the common name of the ingredients you are using, the commercial name. That makes sense when you are working on a certain ingredient from different suppliers. That makes perhaps sense that you write the name of the product, that is cetyl alcohol, from has a commercial name from one supplier and a commercial name from another supplier. So just writing cetyl alcohol will confuse you when you go back to the formulation and to your records, or you can just mention the name of the supplier. The batch number of ingredients you are working with, it will hugely help you find the culprit if something goes wrong, or if you recreate a formulation and you have other results than the previous one when you made the same thing, so you can compare if you have changed. The ingredient is the same, but just you have two different deliveries of the same ingredient. So that might be something that causes the difference. That makes really sense when you are recording your data. Then you need, of course, the percentages and the grams that you have used for that certain formulation. Again, find those information that are relevant for your work and make you have a better record of your data. You don't need all of them. The procedure. This is the part that even I am sloppy sometimes, specifically when we are making the same emulsion, just changing one factor at a time, and we make 10 emulsions on the same day. I usually skip some of the steps, and when in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I go back to my notices, I realize that I have not written the information as exact and as detailed as I should. So please take time, even if it seems simple, silly, unnecessary. Write down any step that you are doing, anything from heating, from cooling, the time it takes, the temperature, the water bath you are using, the instruments you are using, the time you are using to homogenize. Write every single step. You will need it. In 1 week, in 2 weeks, you really cannot remember what you have done. The next part is all of the information for pH measurement and adjustment. This will help you very much when you scale up. When you are making a 100-gram batch, for example, and you know you have applied 2 drops of 80% lactic acid to bring the pH to the range that you want, and then when you scale up to 1 kilogram to 5 kilogram, you can calculate almost how much lactic acid you need to get to the point that you want. So it is very important. If you measure directly, mention it in your diary that you have measured the pH directly, what we do not recommend. If you make a dilution, write down what a dilution you made. Then you have a finished product that you are going to record in your notebooks or in your digital notebooks. And here again, describe every single detail, even if it seems silly or unnecessary, about the color, the texture, the viscosity. You don't, even if you don't measure the viscosity, you can compare it. It's like honey, it's like water, it's like glycerin. So a kind of reference that you, when you go back to your formulations and to your notices, you can compare your results with your stability results, for example. If you are applying the product, mention the skin feel, smooth, grainy, it doesn't glide on the skin. Every detail that you need to come back to is useful. If you are making an emulsion, does it feel soapy? Does it feel grainy? If you have made a kind of shower gel, if you measure the foam, mention the foam. If you just assess the foam visually and by washing your hands again, mention the foam or have compare it with a previous product and the immediate scent of the product. That's very important. And then you keep space in your physical notebook or in your digital notebook to come back and write down your stability testing and follow-ups. So all of the stability testings that you are running on a certain product, you will usually mention the stability testing on the same chapter for the same product. So when you go back to your records after 2-3 years, you can find all of the records that you need in the same place. And again, if you have panel test results, you can mention them there together with the formulation, or you can have a kind of cross-reference and collect them in a separate notebook or in a separate file, but there must be a way to cross-reference to the formulation that you have made. Over the years, we will have a collection of notebooks, so dedicate the right space to them, either in a box or in a bookshelf or somewhere that you can easily access them, and but they are not easily damaged and exposed to water and humidity. This is your asset. This is your most important asset. So take care of that. Over the years, we have created a kind of overview table that it's a cross-reference to my laboratory notebook, to my physical notebook. When I want to go back to my data from last 2 years or from last 3 years, I know I have worked on a certain sample or a raw material, and instead of sitting and going through all of the notebooks, that is really impossible, we create a kind of Excel table with the name and batch number and serial number of all of the products, and I can easily find that formulation and go back to the certain notebook that keeps the information about that product. So again, you have to find something that will work for you and will help for you. I am just sharing with you what we do, and it works perfectly for us. So if I know, or I find a sample, or even I find a beautiful photo from a product that was made 3 years ago, so I go to the information, to the Excel table related to that year, and can find the number of the sample and go back to the page that relates to that certain product. What we do is a kind of serial number and batch number. You can do any way, or you can do your own, find your own way. Serial number is the number of all of our experiments that we are doing. I know, for example, that this year we didn't hit 1,000, we reached 945, 950, something like that. We didn't hit the 1,000 quite, but this is all of the experiments and all of the samples that we have made, no matter what. The batch number is related to a kind of certain product. For example, lipstick. Every lipstick gets a batch number from 1 to whatever we have made, 50, for example. Or every Sapogel mask that we have made gets a number from 1 to 100, 110, whatever we make. So it makes, again, finding that certain product, a certain formulation, the photo, much easier for us. You have to create the system that works for you. I'm just sharing my experience with you. Then perhaps using this serial number and batch number makes the tracking of your photos, stability samples, archive samples, and cross-referencing much easier. As I mentioned, you want to cross-reference in your notebook to the product that you have made a couple of weeks ago, and now you are going to improve the formulation or change something in the formulation. So when you have these kind of batch numbers and serial numbers, it makes it much easier to go back and find it. The same is with your photos. If you write down just chocolate support gel mask, it's much more difficult to go and find it than when you dedicate the same serial number or batch number to the photos that you have in a file, and it is much easier to find them. Again, find a system that works for you. So now, for your patience and for that you have been with me, I have two special offers for you. One of them is a 6-month subscription to our membership portal for a special price, and by being a member you have access to our private Facebook group, access to our monthly video live chats where we exchange our experiences and this kind of information, and go in depth to product formulation and ingredients profiles. So this is a very special offer for you because of your patience till now. And the second one is the printable template that you perhaps have seen on our website. This is a digital file that you can print as much as you want. It's your roadmap to stable, safe, and efficient emulsions. And this is a very special price now. On the website, it is for $59.99, but through this link that it is here, so write it down, you will get access to the file for $29.99. You purchase the file once and you can print it as often as you want. In this file, I will show you the information we collect for each emulsion when we are making emulsions and working on emulsions. On how you collect the data, the templates for writing down your formulations, and the stability testings that we run and we find necessary. So it is step by step. We don't give you any formulation, we show you how to collect the data for your formulations and how to make the stability testing and how to record them. So this is very important for your GMP if you are a professional manufacturer. And once again, two special offers for you. You can write down the links and go back to the offers. One is 6 months membership, and the other one is this beautiful printable template that you can print and collect the information about your emulsions in them. Thanks for being with me. Hope to see you soon.